channel, Justice in the First Degree. My name is Stephanie, and my co-host Chantel you will meet shortly. We are discussing the case of Deorr Coons Jr. today. He is a toddler. He was 2 years old when he went missing back in 2015 while on a camping trip with his family in the Salmon Chalice National Park in Idaho. Today we will also have a special guest who has been working on this case for a very long time and close with the family as well as the private investigator, Callie Ann Pearson. I do want people to note that any opinions expressed are of our own, and most of the information discussed can be found online in public forums. At this time, we do ask that everybody just keep this family in your prayers, and our hopes with this video is to help get the word out there that there is still a little boy missing. Linked below, if you would like to take a look at the end of the video, is a GoFundMe link that the funds go to private investigator Klein, who is back on the case. So far, there's also going to be a link for the Justiceforbabydeorr website that Callie Ann Pearson is put a lot of time into, a lot of research, and it's a lot of information on there. So I do advise going to check it out. We will also show it briefly in the video. But thank you for watching, and if you can donate, please do. Let's bring baby Deorr home. Okay, so my name is Stephanie, and today we're going to be discussing baby Deorr. And we have someone who has been following this case for a while and has done a lot for baby Deorr and the helping to ensure he is found in the community. She has her website up here, but I'll go ahead and introduce Miss Callie.
Hi.
I hope that was okay. I'm a little nervous. So
Don't worry about it. You get used to it after a while. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I'm usually the one that's nervous, and then when I rewatch myself, I'm like, oh, it wasn't that bad.
But okay, I'm excited to tell us a little bit about everything you've done surrounding this case, about the website here for Deorr, all of it.
How did you first get interested in the case? Like, where did you come from?
Well, so Deorr came across my breaking news one afternoon, and I was just worried about him because, I have a 2-year-old at that time. I identified with the 2-year-old and how much she needed me, and how if she was out there, she would just be miserable and horrified. And I just didn't like that because, when you're a mom, it's almost like you're empathic to your child, what they're feeling and stuff. And so I was scared for the whole weekend. I kept looking at all the websites and anything I can find that would just tell me that he's found. And unfortunately, when the following Monday came around, because I was on Friday, July 10th, 2015, and that following Monday, his parents came down to do an interview with East Idaho News, and when it was only like 15, 18 minutes long, but there was something about the interview with the parents that just didn't sit right with me. I felt like there was lies in there. I felt like there was cover up, but I also felt like there was some truth slippage. The whole feeling of of that interview just didn't sit well with me, and I felt like at that point we were no longer looking for a missing child. I felt like at that point the parents might know more, and the more I just kind of paid attention to the case, as just an outsider, the more I saw that I was right. And it was like a couple of months after Deorr went missing, there was a baby that went missing from Stanton, California, according to a family member, wandered off into the hotel room or hotel, and this baby looks strikingly like Deorr, like so much that we had to send police down there ourselves. I'm speaking for Idaho and stuff. And it was determined that it wasn't Deorr. And so that was just the end of that conversation. I was like, well, what was the results of that, And no one talked about it anymore. The dad was running around on Facebook saying, no one told me it was not my kid. No one proved it to me. I'm the father. I should be the one that's going down there. So I met people who actually raised that money for him to fly down to California, and he never went. Before you know it, it was just a dropped conversation. So I kind of poked in 2017 for the first time, actually just messaging, and I found somebody that was similar to my thoughts of the case, and also wondering about the California baby. We call him the California baby. And she just, we kind of became really good friends. Yeah, that kiddo. And we became really great friends. And I actually tracked down to, it was possible it was him, right? And the reason is because there is actually someone who is friends with the family and friends with the hotel staff. So much that this hotel staff and this guy live in the same town at one point. This guy has a shop down there in Stanton, California, but lives in Idaho Falls and knows the family. So I just hung on to that. I was, I would send it in and I would get no reply, or I would get, that's not him. No one, that child is not him. It's ruled out. And I just didn't believe it. So while I was doing that, I was doing, more investigating stuff on the side of what I can see and do in the case, whether it's profiling the family and their friends, whether I can ask questions. And, whenever I asked questions, I was very nice, and very polite and stuff like that with the family. And Vernal, I decided to write him one day, and I told him, I think it was Jessica's cousin. And he's like, no, it wasn't. Who do you think you are? And so I ended up getting in conversations with Vernal that lasted a couple of months, and we had phone conversations, and he ended up telling me about this lug nut story that placed Deorr in a driveway next to a car and his truck, and that he was working on this turbo. And this turbo was his car, not his truck, that he says that happened at camp, right? So I'm just really tuning in, going like, what the heck? And he's telling me how this baby scratched his car with a screwdriver, and that he wished he didn't repaint it, because it would have been a memorable thing. He repainted it because he's not only a car mechanic, but he's a detailer and knows how to do all that stuff. So he's kind of bragging about his work. He sent the baby inside after a while, him sticking his arm in the tailpipe, for Jessica to wipe down. And if you are familiar with the case at all, or not, Vernal was actually in a room doing an interview with Klein, and Klein asked him about, the truck in that morning, and Vernal started placing that whole lug nut story at camp. He was working on his turbo on his truck, and all this, and that baby Deorr went and put his hand in the tailpipe, and he wiped him up. And so I'm seeing two different stories here, and I can't walk away at this point, even more so. Like, what is going on? And now I have this information I'm holding on to. It was really frustrating because I had no way of proving that it was that conversation that I had. So I wrote up a sworn statement, as Klein suggested, and sent it to all the places needed, law enforcement, private investigators, and all that. And to this day, I kind of just, it kind of gets you wondering, did it happen at camp or did it happen in a driveway? And so I actually believe that Deorr was at camp, no longer in the driveway. And I think that he pulled that story from memory to explain to Klein why Deorr was around the truck that day. So it was kind of what that. And backtracking to Deorr and how he went missing, I feel bad about not like opening that with that. So Deorr, he's a 2-year little boy who went missing on a family camping trip with his parents, great-grandfather, and his grandfather's friend. Not too long after law enforcement called the parents suspects, and knowing what happened to him and where he is based on all their story changing and multi-failed polygraph tests. The parents think that grandpa was last in charge of him, and the grandpa thought the parents were last in charge of them. it comes out through their own words that Vernal actually never made it down to the creek with Jessica and Isaac, and that Vernal was actually the last person to see Deorr.
I do wanna ask something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it just escaped my mind. Hold on.
Yep, good.
Do you feel as though, like, because I'm noticing the parents are, they're constantly pointing fingers. They're always trying to point away from themselves.
Right.
Do you think grandpa or Isaac or both of them are just like scapegoats in this scenario?
I definitely think that Isaac's the scapegoat. I don't necessarily, there's been a lot of time where you think of every scenario like, okay, was this planned? Was Isaac brought along on purpose to be a patsy? Or was he already there and something happened and they used him as a patsy? Either way, I think they used him as a patsy. I think Grandpa knew.
Travel? Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope,
Did they travel together to the campsite?
Okay, so Grandpa traveled with Isaac and they led the way. And Vernal and Jessica and baby Deorr were in Vernal's truck behind him. There was a couple of stops that they had to do, not only to get snacks or whatever. Deorr was never seen on camera, but he was seen on camera on Thursday. So he was alive on Thursday. So he was not seen on any cameras, but they were having troubles with the camper. Supposedly they put all the heavy stuff in the back, and so it was swaying. And so, each time that they transferred the trailer to a different vehicle, that vehicle would overheat. So it was constantly, to get up there was kind of a struggle with their vehicles. But yeah, they drove together but separately.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And Isaac, I don't think Isaac knew, because Isaac isn't the type of person, in my opinion, from watching his behavior through every interview or even his Facebook page and his friends and side stuff that I've seen. I just don't think that Isaac would go looking for Deorr if Deorr wasn't really missing. He would be lazy, he would sit at camp, and he would let the parents do their thing. That's my opinion. But I think Grandpa somehow got the idea or did know, because he kept asking his daughter when they're going to have the funeral. He told Caroline Klein, Klein's daughter, who was also a private investigator, that what's done is done. And, reference statements like that makes you think that something happened to Deorr.
So was he asking this while they were searching?
No, he asked it within the following weeks. I guess within a couple of days of going home, he asked about the funeral, and he asked that to his daughter. But within, his interrogation and all of his interviews, that's when he started asking and saying more stuff that was incriminating.
Okay.
Yeah, I would highly suggest to go into the website and go under videos and then go under Klein videos, and you'll see all the interviews of the parents, Grandpa. I don't think Isaac's in there. And you'll see the interviews that they did with him that are available to watch. There's 10 hours total, and I don't have all of that. He's not releasing all of that.
Yeah, and you've done an awesome job with this site too. And
thank you.
Seriously, we do applaud for all the work you've done with this case to try to keep Deorr's name out there. Is there anything you wanted us to play on here right now for people? Anything?
Yeah, I would play the page, the first page, the home page, where there's a play button on the top screen. I took that out of every little piece that I can think of, because like I said, I filtered everything through my hands already. And so I went back and I picked up everything that I could think of that would be very helpful and put it into a short recording.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and play that now. I apologize if you heard my dog barking. He's being ridiculous.
No, you're good. I'm waiting for mine.
You want to play that now? Or yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and play it.
I'm talking too much.
No, I talk too much.
What's the address of your emergency? I'm actually camping in Nederland. Just outside of Nederland. Uh-huh. My 2-year-old son, he can't find him.
Was it
It was
2:26?
2:36 when I called.
It was 2:36 is when she called, and I was in the truck hauling down to the road to try and get service because I didn't think one bar would get it. So she got very, very lucky. I was blessed that she was able to get service because I didn't want to try and risk getting halfway through my talking to the 911 and have it cut off. So I went down to where I knew I can get a little service about a half mile down the road. We searched after about 20 minutes and in a dead panic, not knowing where he was in such a small area and not knowing, never being there, I knew I was in trouble.
I called my dad, told my dad what the fuck was going on. I tried to call my dad, but he didn't answer. That was it. So now I'm in a real panic because my dad was always the one if I needed something or I needed to calm down, I called my dad, and he was the one to deal with that shit. He didn't.
Just pausing for a second.
Oh.
Just to clarify, he's calling his dad before calling 911.
Not sure if it's before or after.
Okay.
I would almost assume that it would be after because of the amount of time that it took him to get down there and then the timing of the call for 911.
What is he saying, like, about... I don't like the way he's talking. I don't like his tone of voice, but what is he saying about his dad deals with that?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, every time he has troubles or he has a situation that he doesn't know how to handle, he calls his dad.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got out of it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, when you don't know if a symptom is bad when you're sick, you call your mom.
Right. I mean, and this goes for, like, if he was really missing his son, I don't blame him for calling his dad, right?
Right.
Why would you lie about it?
Right.
Yeah, because he didn't mention that he called his dad. So.
No, he said, I called my dad. And I told my dad what the heck was going on. I tried to call my dad. That was it. So, yeah.
Oh, so did he tell his dad what happened, or did he not tell his dad what happened?
Well, he denies the phone call to his dad. He denies talking to his dad. But in the next clip, Jessica's going to throw him under the bus.
All right, well, let's see that happen.
Oh, boy. I really fucking panicked.
But this time he goes out of the campground, right? Yes. Okay, to make a phone call. Now, who does he call?
He said he was going to call 911.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that he talked to his dad.
Okay.
Why did Bernal feel the need to hide the conversation with his dad? He starts out by saying that he talked to him, but quickly retracts that and says he tried instead. In an interview with Jessica and David Marshburn, Jessica reveals that after Bernal called 911, that he indeed did speak to his dad. Again, why would Bernal feel the need to hide the conversation with his dad? Did his dad know more about what happened to Deorr? We will never know, because since this case has happened, his dad has since passed and will never be questioned. Had he been questioned, it makes you wonder what would have been revealed. Maybe Deorr's case would have already been solved.
So his dad was never questioned at all?
So I've talked to a detective in Idaho Falls, and I've asked questions to Sheriff Penner if his dad was questioned. His dad, they don't believe his dad knew anything. His dad has actually ridden in one of the vehicles or had extreme conversations with one of them, and he just didn't get the feeling that he knew anything. But I don't think he was questioned about the phone call. Because, yeah, I don't think he was questioned about the phone call at all. I don't think, I mean, think about it. If his dad knew, it would make sense for Bernal to lie, to keep his dad out of the picture and not questioned.
Right.
That's how I think of it. I could be wrong, but that's how it looks to me, is that why would you lie about it? I mean, if Jessica knows that you talked to your dad, what's the hiding for, you know?
Right. And talking to your dad is not weird.
No, it's not. It's
No.
perfectly fine. So what did you have a conversation about? That's the protecting thing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think his dad took some stuff to the grave with him then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, his dad was actually in a conversation with somebody that was in our social media groups, and they talked every night. So I don't think he revealed much, but that's because I don't think the right questions were being asked of him. Yeah, in my opinion, from that person that did talk to him, she thought that he knew a little bit more, but she doesn't know anything enough to report. And if she did, she reported it to law enforcement and not social media.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Forward with the little.
I also want to take something back to the beginning of what I think it's so weird how in a lot of cases like this, you can always tell from like that initial interview of the parents if they know more than what they're saying. I do want to know, like, what are some of the main things that stuck out to you about their initial interview with East Idaho News?
Okay, so the mom barely spoke. The mom looked like she felt threatened in a way of not being able to speak, like he was speaking over her all times. And when she did speak, there was times where she did speak, where I just think that he was like, here, let me do all the talking. I think that's kind of how they went in there, let me do all the talking. And so whenever she did try to talk, she was kind of cut off short. And he was all over the place. I get that his son's missing, so that I keep that in my mind. Like there's a lot of scrambling going on. His son's missing. Like pretend his son is missing and that he doesn't know where it's going on. That makes sense. But the fact that he is saying, what was it like? I knew I was in trouble. Something about dead. All these little words that were coming out of his mouth. And he kept slipping the word Snake River, which really kind of confuses me and keeps me off guard a little bit. But there's also, it's a salmon river up there. So is he getting like salmon snake rivers? He's trying to spit that out and he's just not getting it out. I leave all of these open as, like, is it just me that sees this or am I one of many? I am one of many. I just think that the way he held himself, the way he praised law enforcement, and all of the helicopters, and he was so much more into what the gadgets were that were looking for his son than his son. Not once did he even describe his son. This is what he looks like. This is what he's wearing. They didn't bring a picture. If you don't bring a picture, that's fine. Describe what he's wearing. Describe what he looked like. It just seemed like that. It was like Deorr was not the topic. It was the fancy helicopters and their way of doing things. Their technology was so much more important. Praising law enforcement that is looking for your son but hasn't even found him yet. You save that stuff. So
maybe he thought by being interested in the technology and praising law enforcement, maybe he thought that would like take him off of their radar or something.
Exactly. Yeah, kind of get on their side a little bit, the more that you're in the middle versus looking suspicious, you might be able to play their game. And they played it for a while until FBI came and did their polygraph test as well.
Yeah, they can't play that game anymore.
No. And it wasn't Klein that did the polygraph test. It was law enforcement and FBI. And, Klein came in after that. So for him to share that, that's totally okay. People are like, how do you know they failed that many? Well, law enforcement. That's why.
Yeah. And I know
it's interesting that you brought up that fact because I hadn't really considered that before. But now that you've said that, I can think of lots of other cases where they're not solved and the parents are just angry with the police. I mean, it may be misplaced anger, but they're angry because their loved one is still missing.
Right.
So having him think so highly of them when they haven't solved the case is a little strange.
Right, and we have like Michael Vaughn's case. I love to refer to that because Michael Vaughn's mom is out there and she's doing everything she can, and there's not one piece of me that feels she's involved at all. I haven't seen the dad much, so I don't know, but um, it, she's out there. She's looking for her kid. She wants her kid home. She knows that he's possibly not going to come home, but she wants answers, and she's not going to stop until she gets them. Um, these parents have stood up people. They have stood up canine handlers, cadaver dog handlers. They've stood up searchers. They've stood up Dr. Phil, who flew all the way to Idaho Falls on their okayness. Like they agreed to it and they stood them up. You don't do that if your son is missing. They're not out there begging the public, I want my son home. It's 8 years now, and I don't care how guilty I would look if I didn't do it. I'm going to be out there and I'm going to be looking for my kid. I'm going to be doing exactly what I'm doing for Deorr, but way more because he's not my kid. I can't just get on the news and say, hey, I need to do news stuff for him because they're not going to look at me and say that that's appropriate.
What's sad is they seem more like, on social media, they're trying to portray that I miss my child persona. Yeah. But yeah, that's...
I know. I mean, of course, I feel like they miss him, but yeah, they're not looking. They're just not looking. It's not a matter of hiring Klein back. If they don't like Klein, they don't like Klein. I don't blame them for their own whatever reasons, but do something. So I don't see that happening. I know some of the stuff behind the scenes, and I know all the facts that have been presented, and I'm baffled on how they're still walking free.
Yeah. Most definitely. And I know you like it just escaped my mind. We can continue. Did we listen to the full clip too?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
No, I figured I would stop at each appropriate stopping point and discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. Ask questions. Sure.
All right.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and listen to the next section.
Sorry.
No,
I had a thought and it just went whoop, gone.
That's okay. Oh. All right, here we go.
As far as I know, I thought baby Deorr was still behind us, and I was showing Jessica. Like when I went to go show them the fishing hole, like I went down there and showed Jessica where the fishing hole is, and I assumed that Deorr and his dad were right behind me.
What if there was an accident? What do you think? Do you think that's possible that an accident happened?
Yeah, it could have been an accident. Could be possible.
Do you know anything as far as Robert Walton, the grandfather? Have you heard how his health's doing? We heard it's not doing very well.
That's what I've heard. I heard he's on oxygen.
His grandson's missing. His great-grandson's missing. Mm-hmm. Did you and Isaac talk about the baby's disappearance? No. You didn't? No. What's done is done. What's done is done.
And who is that saying that what's done is done?
Okay, so Caroline Klein is reading Grandpa Bob's statement back to Trina.
Okay.
And Trina is going to agree.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's your grandson.
Yeah, and he's been like that. I mean, he says things like that. I mean, we got home and, within like 2 or 3 days, he's like, so are we going to have a funeral?
Wow. Can you explain to me? And the reason I know this is because Jessica called me herself after she got out of her polygraph. Actually, I called her to check on her because Trina had texted me and said to. And I asked her how everything went. And you know what she told me? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to know why Jessica threw you under the bus. And Jessica said that you were with Deorr at your truck for 20 minutes while she was down in the creek fishing after you got back from the stage shop. I asked her.
That is wrong. That's wrong, for one. I can tell you that. That's wrong. But for two, and I asked her the same thing. Not meanly, not coaching, nothing. I just said, what the Christ was that all about? And she said, and I quote, I was under a lot of pressure, and I was don't know what the hell else to do. I didn't know what else to do.
But I didn't.
Did you
But see
lie to
that.
them?
But that right there confuses me because I didn't pressure her. We were just having a conversation. I just asked if she was okay. I asked what happened because I wasn't even privy to any of that information at that point in time. And she told me the reason she never told me that before was because she's scared of you. So is she lying? Did she just lie to me and tell me that you were with your son for 20 minutes while she was down in the creek fishing and that you could have done something?
That's what her, I went down to this creek.
Well, that's been your story from the get-go, but now all of a sudden she's changed it. So you got to understand where we're coming from now.
Yeah, I know, I understand. It's my word against, or it's her word against mine, but here's the problem. Since she comes back to everybody else, in both families, to everybody else, except for law officials, and says that was wrong. Well, what the fuck am I supposed to do, Jessica? Look what you did. Well, now you've got more time wasted with officials because you felt like you were cornered and had no other way out. That doesn't do our son any good.
Mm-hmm.
You what?
I think it's so weird that he's using words like coaching in a regular conversation.
Yes. And he actually coaches, so
That's
he
one of
gets
those
caught coaching.
terms that you don't.
It
use.
seems like you put him in a corner, and then all of a sudden he just starts yelling and becoming defensive.
Yeah, like a narcissist, like someone who can't do anything wrong, someone who didn't do anything wrong, someone's got to, like totally backed up in the corner.
Well, you'd think would happen, or what I would think would happen if I was him and somebody was, asking me about this, you'd think that he would then recite what actually happened, but he doesn't do that. He just says, well, that's wrong. That's wrong. I'm not coaching her.
Right. And then her I and Isaac went down there like that. It just doesn't sound truthful.
Her, I, and Isaac.
Now, I do have a question because Jessica actually had 3 separate stories for what happened there. One time she says it was just her, then she says it was just her and Vernal, and then she says it was her, Vernal, and Isaac. So which story is it? Is it just her, or is it just her and Isaac, or what do you
So after the stage stop, they get back to the Grandpa's pulling in with Isaac. Supposedly they were fishing at the reservoir or something. Some people think that they were just showing up that day, but Vernal and Jessica and supposedly Deorr come back from the stage stop, being lost and all that stuff. And they sit down around the fire, and Grandpa's like, showing them the fish that they caught. And Vernal's like, no way, you didn't catch those fish. Show me where. And he's like, Isaac, go show them where the fishing holes are. And so it's confusing because I don't think that's where they even caught them in the first place. And so they're showing them a spot that I don't think where they caught them. So Isaac takes, quote unquote, Jessica and Vernal down to the creek while there was a back and forth with Deorr, wondering who he's going to go with, and Grandpa was his last choice. And so that's that. And then they come back and Deorr's missing. But I don't personally think Isaac stayed around. I think obviously Vernal stayed behind. He was going to head down there or whatever, but him and Deorr went back to the truck. And he was working on his truck. And then Jessica was left down there by herself fishing after Isaac showed her where it was. And he's like, here. And then he walked down the creek to do his own fishing.
Okay. So have you been to the campground?
No. I have been on a live feed. And I've seen a lot of pictures, but no, that's the one thing I have not been able to do. I'm kind of waiting for my turn to go to Idaho.
Okay. So are you able to describe the campground a little bit though? Was it open? Could you see the creek from the camp area? Was it covered with trees, or what was the scene?
Okay, so when you pull in, it's kind of like this like a valley with wall sides to it. So I mean, Deorr can only go so far widthways, and lengthways you can go a while because it's the campground, creek on both sides, creeks on I want to say it was both sides, but it's on one side that I know of. The creek's on one side, and it's about 10 feet of a drop maybe that you have to kind of climb down the bank. It can get deep, but not deep, and there's a lot of debris in the way. And there was a lot of debris in the way when he was missing. They were down there, and there was, patches of sticks and, just a lot of, looked like beaver dams everywhere. They were for sure he was not in that creek.
Yeah.
And then if you keep going, they said that they didn't know, or Vernal says he didn't know the reservoir was there. There's a road that goes to the reservoir and it starts to go up. I never knew it went up until I was on the live feed. I was like, oh wow, it's actually on the hill. So you go up and then you go a little bit further, and it's on the right hand side is where the reservoir is. It's just a collection of rainwater that goes into the creek, not the creek into the reservoir. And that's not very deep either. It was like 2-3 feet deep max. When you're in the helicopter, you could see the bottom all the way around. They did have divers in there as well, like a lot of divers, and not just at once. Like they kept sending them there just in case. And then it kind of just goes into, if you keep going, it just goes into the woods, and I think you lose the road at that point. So it's just kind of a really long, narrow area with sidewalls.
Okay, and we have to, he's a 2-year-old little boy. According to them, in oversized boots, he would not be able to navigate that by himself very easily. Then
oversized boots, and he's tripping a lot. That's the one thing his parents painted. They if they really wanted to get away with it, they should have never said anything about the boots and how wobbly he was in them.
Well, I can imagine it. I remember my own kids, wearing boots, either my boots or someone else's boots that were too big, and their tiny little bodies, and they're just falling all over the place. So that was a very vivid picture that we can all imagine because we experienced it.
But they're not going to make it very far.
But I mean, even if he had made it into that reservoir, you're saying it was only a few feet. He theoretically could have walked through that.
Yeah, maybe it would have probably gotten to his head, but he would have been found by now if he was actually in there. Not only by divers, but eventually he would have floated up, and it's just not. He's just not there.
Yeah, and they've never found anything from him. No clothing.
Nothing. That's the so much to where the first sheriff wasn't even sure he even made it to camp. That's how little of Deorr was there.
So what? So the first town, the nearest town to, and this is the Salmon Chalice National Park.
Yeah.
Okay, so Timber Creek is just one of the campgrounds. There's a bunch of others, different names within the park. Then.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help, paint a picture.
It's the forest, the Shayla's forest. It's just kind of like a north-south thing, and it's really long, and then there's campgrounds throughout that. Okay. And so, yeah.
Did they check any of the other campgrounds?
No, I don't think so. There is another campground called Timber Creek that I called in, and I want to say Sheriff Penner, if he understood me correctly, he said that he searched it, but I'm not sure if he really searched that spot, because when asked again, he said it was over 100 miles away, but really it's only an hour and a half drive.
Okay.
So I keep that, I don't know, I just keep that, open. If you really want to
haven't been any private searches here either.
What's that?
I said, have there been any private searches at these campgrounds?
Yeah, there's been a couple of private searches. Well, there's been at the campground, at the one that the other campground. No, I have had preparations to go up there with different groups to go check it out. But they keep falling through. It's 13 hours away from me, and with the gas prices, it would be like $1,500 just to go there and back in a weekend, and I just don't have that.
Right. A lot.
And especially, I don't have dogs with me. I can get a shovel and I can get a metal detector, but really, what are they going to get me? So someday I'll get out there. I'll get to see it.
So the nearest town from where they were stationed then, or where they were camping, is, would you say 45 minutes, or would you say an hour drive into Deorr? Or is it Deorr?
It's Deorr. Deorr. Yeah, Deorr.
Okay.
It's about a 45 minute drive from the campground to the town itself, and that's because the road was, I think, 7 miles long, and it was just really rough. Like, it took 40 minutes minimum just to get through that road to the other end. So yeah, 40 minutes. And then the nearest town north of that is Salmon, another like 35, 40 minutes. And then south would be, I want to say, like Mud Lake. So not a lot of towns. I mean, it's kind of a dead area. It's very lonely up there. You picture some of those tumbleweeds in the road blowing around when you drive by.
That I did a street view on that town, and I saw like the old timey like post office, and it was very cute. Don't get me wrong, but if you look at the aerial view, like
I mean,
it's like not very big.
I mean, you have a sex offender running the bar, so I don't know how cutesy it can be, even though it is cute. They just don't have proper people running the town, I don't think.
I was gonna ask about that because I actually don't know how that information evaded me all these years, but I didn't even know who that person was. And I was asking Stephanie about it earlier.
And there's this lady who's friends with the grandpa and Isaac. So Isaac had a girlfriend that was from that area, and he knows a lot of people in that area, I guess. And then grandpa also somehow knew some people up there, and they were friends. So yes, it's like a little drug town where there's a meth issue, and the lady who runs the bar basically pimped out her stepdaughter at the age of 14, and that's why she became a sex offender.
Maybe it's not that weird because of how small the town is, but it just feels very strange to me that these people somehow know each other.
Yeah, that does bother me. You know, like,
I mean, is it weird or is it just small town coincidence?
I think there was another reason that they probably chose that area. Maybe it was to get drugs. If it wasn't just for that reason, then, you know, it just happens to be there. And I think somehow they knew that there was something that they all knew something. So I don't know. I mean, if they all knew each other, then it wouldn't be a secret, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, were they together? Were they engaged at this time? What were Jessica and Vernal?
They were separated.
They were separated. Okay.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of new. They didn't really, not a lot of people knew about that, and I didn't know about it until I asked. But Vernal lived with his dad in Montpelier, but I think it's like an hour and a half southeast. And then Jessica lived in Idaho Falls, and her aunt lived above her in a house separated like a duplex kind of thing. She lived on the bottom and the aunt lived on top with the cousin. But yeah, they were separated. I think they saw each other, you know, like hung out with each other still for Deorr's sake, or maybe they still cared about each other, but they were in the process of, like, you know, figuring stuff out, but they were not together, nor did they live together. And Deorr's daycare was actually in Montpelier as well.
Okay. So I have a couple of questions. Because I know me and Chantel, of course, we have some theories, but what is your theory that, because I did see a video on your on the Deorr for Deorr Jr.'s Facebook page, voice page. What is your theory that happened that day, like step by step? Where do you think the police should start their investigation at from here, and what would you like to see the public do as well?
All right, so
I'm sorry. I know that's
okay. I'm like trying to think of the very first question.
Oh, it was all right. Just basically that day. Take us back to that day.
Okay, so that day, I've had my thoughts all over the place, just like everybody else in this case. So I have actually come to terms with my final thoughts. I believe that this did happen at camp based on the cadaver dogs and everything found there, the diaper being thrown away. I mean, there's just stuff that's just there. I don't think he was there very long. or really ran around enough to leave his trails. I think that at some point when they were going down to the creek, the whole creek subject, I believe that when Vernal or when Jessica was busy fishing, when Isaac was busy fishing, and Grandpa most likely asleep in the camper, I believe that there was an accident between Vernal and his truck and Deorr. I think that somehow he backed his truck up and didn't realize Deorr was back there. And that's another reason why Vernal goes off on the whole lug nut story. He's placing his baby there, and that's the reason why we're going to find something there, is because, got to figure out why. If they're going to find something, I got to explain why my son was around that area. So I think that's what happened. I think that Vernal put Deorr in a cooler that is apparently missing from inventory. I think he rushed him out. I think he attempted to bury him, then came back. I think that's when he said, hey, Deorr's missing, and then everybody else starts chiming in on that. And then I think Vernal again had to go down the road, 1.5 miles down the road, to make this 911 call, lie about calling his dad, still continue to try to bury him, and he goes down there even a third time. So you're hauling down there is what he says, right? You're not looking for a 2-year-old when you're hauling. You're looking for a 2-year-old in wobbly boots, you're going to go slow. So you're bypassing all that. You're on a mission to get 1.5 miles down the road for a reason. 3 times. I believe that Vernal and Jessica were rather closer than possibly I think, because Jessica has stated on 911 call that she's emptying her wet pocket contents into the truck. Well, at this point, she's on the call with 911. Vernal's down the road trying to get his own 911 call, and at some point he's on the 911 call, and you can hear him in the background of the dispatch center. They're like, okay, we got your wife on the other line, just stay put, don't go anywhere, and then he hangs up. It's possible that Jessica and Vernal were actually closer together during these calls than stated. It's another reason why I think Jessica might know and I think Vernal just kind of took over the whole thing and has it himself, and Jessica just doesn't have anything to do with it but knows. And I think that they're just so deep into their lives that it's so hard to pull out of that. You have people who believe you, and as long as you have people who believe you, you're going to want to you don't want to deceive them. You want them to keep, you want that. You never wanted it to happen in the first place, is what I think. So no one should look at them differently. And if people are still looking at them, the same as before, they don't want to lose that. And I think they're just too deep into it. So that's my opinion on what happened that day. And I forgot the question. Sorry.
No, and now that and that would make a lot of sense, especially since I know, looking through even your site and everything, I know that they were saying they found blood on the back of his truck.
Yeah.
I do have a question though, like no one in town that day saw Deorr at all. So they made a trip into town prior to all of this going down. Where was Deorr during that time?
We don't know. Because no one in town saw him. When they went and got gas, the guy got pumping their gas didn't see him. He saw an empty car seat, according to him, Klein. Vernal makes up some lies about what Deorr was doing while Mom was still in the store, saying that there was a semi truck that parked in the front. It was a beer truck, and that he loves trucks, and so the beer guy let him sit on his lap and play with the truck. That didn't happen, because this not only is the company that Vernal said was there, that company had been out of business for 3 years, and so there was another the beer person was actually tracked down, and it was a different beer person, different company, and he's like, no, not only do I park in the back, I would never ever let a child in my seat. I would get fired for that. So yeah. There's a lot of made-up stories to place Deorr places, to place Deorr someone seeing him, but no one saw him. So I mean, I don't know.
So it is confirmed that they did go into town because people saw them.
Yeah, they did go to town. There's 2 receipts. that proves that they were in town. Where was Deorr? Like, so that's another thing. It's like, so was this whole creek thing after the stage stop, or was this whole creek incident before the stage stop? Because it would make more sense. I don't know. In my opinion, it would make more sense for it to be before. I really don't know. It's just so confusing on where Deorr was during the stage stop situation.
That's in my mind. If Jessica really didn't know anything and it happened the way that you're theorizing it happened, which makes sense, then why lie about bringing Deorr into town if he had stayed back for some reason?
Yeah, good question. So that makes us think that the timeline of this whole thing moves backwards, which
Maybe
makes
he went into town after. But then why would Jessica go along with see?
Yeah. The whole thing is just a mess. Like, it really is. Like, where was Deorr during the town? Why would you lie about that? Was he really in town? I don't think he was, because he was just not seen. That means if they went to town and their receipts are at 12 something in the afternoon, Isaac didn't get up until about 12 when they were leaving to go to town. I'm not going to think that Isaac's going to lie at this point. It's not his kid. Why would he lie about this stuff? It's not his problem, you know?
So did all have that cooler with them when they went into town? And did something happen to Deorr before they ever even left into town? Did something happen in the time that Grandpa Vernal were down at the creek fishing? They may not have seen it. And like, did that happen? Did it happen backwards? And maybe they came back and Jessica went fishing for 20 minutes and it was all a cover story. And Vernal had time to get rid of evidence.
I think that Isaac, with Vernal placing, he actually tells Klein that he was working on his truck around 10 o'clock in the morning. So this is around breakfast time, right? 8 o'clock is when he says that he was the last one up, 8 o'clock, and everybody was already sitting by the fire, and then they all started kind of making breakfast. Well, Isaac didn't wake up until about 9. He peed and went back to bed. He very clearly says that. And then the second time he woke up was around noon when the three of them were supposedly leaving to go to town. So if Vernal's working on his truck and admits that he's working on his truck around 10, this makes you wonder if this whole timeline, that means that Vernal had enough time to bury Deorr, more so, because this ground, a family member said it took 2 hours just to dig out a hole for a little tree to be planted. 2 hours. This dirt is really tough.
There were hours Jessica was waiting to get her tampons, just saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And that makes more sense to me, because that's one thing that's been bothering me is, like, if everything happened the way that Vernal and Jessica say it happened, I don't understand how they would have had enough time to really properly dispose before it was publicly known. Like, and they were not criminal masterminds here, so
no. And so this makes you wonder. Is this the town situation? Did they make it look like Deorr was still there when they came back for Isaac to see? And then the rest was really none of it. Like, was all this shuffling around happening right around the 911 call, or did all this shuffling happen around 10 o'clock in the morning? So, I mean, you do have Vernal admitting that he's working on his truck. We believe this happened when he was working on his truck. And then you don't have anybody seeing Deorr during the time that they're in town. That means Deorr most likely might have been deceased at that point, you know? And also Klein kind of slipped something in his podcast that the guy pumping his gas not only saw only a car seat, but saw a blue cooler in the back of the truck. Now, I don't know if that's something that Klein remembers or if he has proof of that. I don't know. But that's what I gathered from his podcast. Little things like that I'll catch and I'll be like, oh, I didn't know that, and I like this is great. You know, so I get little pieces like that and some, but I don't know. Does this happen in the morning, or did it happen after camp or after the stage stop? Good question.
It had to have happened before they went into town, though. Something happened before town because Deorr was never seen there.
Well, not only that, think about it. What else could you use tampons for?
Cleaning up blood? I don't know.
Wounds? I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of wound.
Or
I don't know.
I don't know if I believe the whole tampon thing. I feel like I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean,
a bloody
I guess
two different
people don't pay attention to their cycles, I guess. I'm guilty sometimes myself, but like I don't know.
Even if she did get tampons, it's not that big of a deal. But the fact that she calls her mom or writes her mom to tell her she's got to get tampons, and then after she gets tampons, she writes her mom to tell her that she got the tampons. Does that not seem like code to you?
Else?
It seems like a code to me. And we have to also think Trina, the mother, she didn't necessarily pass her lie detector test. She was actually given one based on her possible knowledge of her daughter telling her and confiding into her. And so at some point, she was given a polygraph test to see if she had, at some point was given that information. And I say it's a no pass. I don't want to step on law enforcement's toes, but it was inconclusive.
Yeah.
So it's basically not a pass. So it's possible we think that the mother might know more. So that would make sense for those text messages. It's like, hey, the deed is this happened. I don't know. Like, I don't know what who messages their parents. I got tampons. I need tampons. Like,
I might, but that's just because me and are really close. I will say that.
But your mom wasn't even with you. Like maybe if my mom was like out on the camping trip with me and knew that I needed to go to the store, I'd be like, oh, I got them, yay! But like, I don't know.
Yeah, the conversation wasn't anything else but that. Like I don't know. It's weird.
It is. In that context, it is weird.
It has been a high topic subject of Deorr's thing. Whenever I do live, people just get a kick out of that.
Out of the tampons?
Out of the tampon story. It's the one thing that people like. I just don't get it. And it's like, I get that she could probably have forgotten. She said she didn't have any on her. Heck,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like that. And I'll be like, oh crap, and I gotta run and go get some. So for many
wouldn't
women,
you like to think that if you were going to a remote forest,
you would prepare,
around that time, that you might bring something just in case?
It's just for a weekend, yeah, I guess. But let's just say
I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah, I give her the benefit of the doubt to like totally forget and just think that she was gonna start the following week or whatever. But I think it's really the code conversation for me on that. Like, I don't understand the topic of that subject.
Yeah, I think it's a code, personally.
It's odd.
It sounds like
when
you back at it.
Wow. And maybe if there's more text messages to counteract that, then it won't seem so odd. But I haven't seen those, and I'm sure there is some. So I don't look too close into that. The only thing I can think of for tampons that would be weird about it is because they could have said, I want to go get a drink, and nothing's weird about that. So having a tampon issue, I don't find anything weird about it. I just find it weird that she texts her mom and that no one saw Deorr. The rest of the town thing doesn't really
it seems normal.
Bother me. Yeah, it seems normal.
For unprepared people.
Yeah, for unprepared people.
Didn't get gas, didn't get tampons, gotta go to the store.
Since the story, since I've had all these lives, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm just going to be more prepared. So I'm actually prepared nowadays.
You think they knew going into this, since obviously they're separated? It's a little weird they chose to do a camping trip last minute. Like, do you think they knew that this was going to happen, this trip? Do you think this was a planned thing for them?
The planned camping trip or the planned accident?
Planned for Deorr to go missing. Was that planned, do you think?
I mean, as much as I would like to believe, and at this point, I believe that it was an accident. I do feel like the parents do grieve. I have seen them grieve, like, you know, like, I don't know. I mean, if you can pick up on someone being a liar, you can pick up on someone's true sadness. And I feel like they really do suffer with the loss of him, and therefore I don't think it was on purpose. But if it was on purpose, they picked a great spot and they picked a good patsy for it. But
Yeah.
I want to say it was an accident.
Okay, and
My
yeah,
heart wants to say it's an accident. Like, I can't even imagine someone doing anything on purpose. They were arguing, they were, you know, in distress with each other. So they weren't like the perfect pair to be near each other. So I don't know. I mean,
yeah, and I do want to state that I'm not trying to bash the parents in any way or say that they did this on purpose. I question that, though, because of the simple fact that, you know, in today's world,
yeah,
unfortunately, there are cases where
and people do.
planned.
Yeah, they do that. People do that. So it's a great question because and it's an important question, you know, like a purpose and accident are two different things. I don't think if it was on purpose, I just don't think they would cry about it. I don't think that they would really mourn him. And I think that they really mourn him. I think that they're the type of people who remind me of the younger generation and pathological liars. They're more focused on how they appear, and really they just want to pretend nothing happened. And if they could just go about their day like nothing happened, I think that's what they really want.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I mean,
yeah, something happened. So
personally, I think that you can grieve even if you did something on purpose. That's my stance. Like, I think that just because you do something terrible doesn't mean that every part of you is terrible, that you have no feelings.
Right.
It would be interesting to, I don't know, I guess to know, like, what exactly
I mean,
were they
there's
fighting
always
about,
that chance. There's always that chance, you know. There really is there is a chance. I just feel like he was loved more than that.
Right.
I feel like his parents, sure, they probably didn't want another child, and it would have rather have been just the two of them. But they got as far as like 2.5 years, you know. If they really didn't want him, they could have done something a long time ago. They didn't have to wait until, you know, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Casey Anthony, or anything Casey Anthony, but did Casey Anthony do hers on purpose? Like, you know, I don't know.
I don't think she did. I think that was an accident.
Yeah.
But I do think she did it.
Same thing. I mean, look at her. She went out, she partied. She did all that stuff afterwards. And the parents really aren't doing much different. They're not partying, but they're I don't know. I mean, the mom shut down. She ended up getting like on her the year anniversary of Deorr, she ended up in the hospital from panic and malnutrition and all that stuff because she wasn't taking care of herself. And the dad on the anniversary got in a car accident. So I don't a lot of things happen with you know, the mom. She seems sad. I don't think the mom had anything to do with anything. I think that she just has something to do with the continuous lie, and that's it. I don't think that she has anything to do with making this happen. I think she's just I think the mom is sad. I think the mom grieves, and I feel bad for her. Although I've talked to people who worked with her, know her personally, and they all think that she's just a bad mom, someone who's all about herself, someone who doesn't grieve on Deorr's disappearance, and so you get conflicted information from people who actually know her versus someone like myself and us who just see her from an outside view.
Well, that's because seeing her, like, her interviews and what she displays on social media and all that, it's easy to seem like a parent cares that route.
She actually doesn't seem like she really cares that much on social media. On a lot of social media. She actually, like, in the coaching there's a coaching video where Vernal's coaching Jessica on say has, not had. You can't do that, you know. So not only did he mention the word coaching in a whole another audio section of the case, he actually coaches her. And so when you see Jessica like that, she seems like she's F you kind of person, you know? Like, I don't give a shit. Like, she doesn't seem like she's grieving. But I just feel like there are pictures, there are family members, there are other things that I feel like she's sad about this, but she would really like this to just be behind her and move on.
Right.
Wow.
Accident or not, they just want it to go away.
Well, unfortunately, it can't go away, you know. I
No,
mean,
it's not going to go away. Not with people like us on board. Like,
you don't get to just move on.
This little boy, he needs to be found, no matter the outcome. And I feel like, with everything you've told us, I feel like Jessica really can hold the key if she would just talk to help this.
She is the key to this case, and she's been close to breaking a couple of times, and it would just be really, really awesome for not myself, but for the world, for the other family members that really do care about Deorr. They miss this baby. They all expect him to come back at this 2-year-old little stage, you know, and he's not. Not only is he not coming back, he's not 2 years old anymore, and just I think it's just unfair for the mom mostly to not stick up for her own child. If it was an accident with the dad, it doesn't matter. Stick up for your child. That was the wrong thing, the wrong decision to do is covering it up. She's in deep herself. Doesn't she want to breathe? I mean, I put myself in their situation sometimes and I get all nervous and I get all scared and I'm like, how would I just like all of a sudden spill it out, you know, myself? If I were in their shoes, I can see how hard it is. But it is certainly important to do. Put this case to rest. Give this baby a proper burial. If he's adopted out illegally, awesome, because that means he's alive. But say something, you know. I don't care if I have to be on this case for the rest of my life. It's not about my time, but it is on the family's time, other people's time, and we just want answers. And I think it's important for the mom to release that stress and that burden that she has, and just let it all out. Let nature take its course. I don't think she's going to get in that much trouble. I really don't. I mean, what is there? If she didn't cause the accident, it's not manslaughter. It's not. It's like child endangerment. It's a slap on the wrist.
Well, she could definitely probably have to deal with the DA
That's
too.
what I was going to say. I mean, she could even go to them and be like, look, you're going to have to help me if I'm going to help you because I'm scared.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly,
whatever.
Something. I mean, even though her, they got, what's the word I said? That they got, community. And they both basically turned that down. So that's not on the table anymore. But however, I bet you people would totally work with her if she said, look, I'm ready to talk. There's so many people. Klein would work with her. I mean, law enforcement would work with her. I mean, just anybody would work with her. Hell, I would work with her. You know, just say something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because, I mean, they'll cut her a deal for testimony against Vernal if Vernal's the one that did it.
Right.
Or
and even if she knows like, more and she saw the whole thing. Yeah. I feel like they know where he is and that's good enough for them. You know, they're the parents, they're the only ones that should really care, you know, in a way, in their own thoughts. And as long as they know where he's at and they go to his gravesite and, you know, grieve for themselves, that's probably all they're thinking about. But that's selfish. There's other family members of Deorr, and they want to see the same thing. They want to go and grieve at a spot, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
It's sad. These two young parents had all, you know, everything ahead of them their whole life. And I really wish that future parents will look at this case and say, I don't want to go through that, you know, and do something way early in advance. Get it over with, do your time, move on, you know. Don't drag it out like this. It's not fun.
Well, if they do find themselves in this situation, of course, know that they can say something, like you said before, and there's people and want to help.
Right.
It's better to say something before anything happens, obviously, but definitely bring closure. Wow. He would be 11 now, wouldn't he?
Yes, December 30th.
Oh, his eyes are pretty.
They're beautiful. He's just a beautiful child.
That's what kind of struck me too when I first heard about it. Obviously, I care whenever I hear any children go missing, but when I saw his face, I was like, oh my God, he's so cute.
Like, anybody would rather have been his parents, you know? Like,
yeah.
He's adorable. I've never took on a case like this. I mean, I've worked on them. I've reunited people. I've done this and that. I've locked up puppy mills. I've locked up pedophiles. But this case is just so special to me. I can't even tell you how connected I am to it. It's like when you spend, and I mean, the family's probably looking at me like, well, you never had to get involved, you know? No, I didn't, but I did. And because I did, and the more and more I got involved, the deeper I got. And, you know, a person who knows so much, I don't think it's right for them to walk away, because they can still be helpful. Like, I just don't want to walk away from this case. There's times where I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, the computer's driving me crazy. I don't want to be on it anymore, you know. But yeah, day and night, I think about this kid like he's my own. It's like I adopted a missing child, and I think a lot of people that I know, they actually adopted a missing child. I know many people right now who've adopted Summer, who's adopted, you know, all these missing children, and that's all they work on is that child. And of course, they help with others like I do, but we all have our focus, and I think that that's important for more people to do, is grab a child and adopt them and do what you can for them.
Yeah. Well, that's a big part. So far since I've been talking with you, that's all the work you've done for him. And I know you've worked on a couple of other cases, and I admire that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I don't ever do this for kudos because it's just not for me.
Oh, no, I wasn't saying that reason.
No, I mean, but I know I appreciate it, and you know, and I guess sometimes it's important to get kudos, but it's hard for me to like ever accept it. I'm always like, oh, it's okay, thank you. But it is a hard work, it is, and I really do appreciate, you know, those words because it keeps me going.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. So, I mean, a lot more. I mean, it's not just talking about it, getting it out there in a public, but you have a GoFundMe set up that goes straight to the PI, and you have Venmo as well that helps, and you also you've done a couple fundraisers and shirts and stuff, stickers.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain a little bit of that? Maybe.
Yeah. Go into the website, ways to help. We have a GoFundMe set up for Deorr, and the beneficiary is Klein and his daughter. I am the one running it. So if you donate there, don't feel like it's not going to go towards Deorr. It's all for Deorr, and it's for Deorr's search. Klein is back on the case, and it will help keep his boots on the ground. We've raised half of it, a little over half of it. It took us all last year to do that. I would love to see the amount go higher, because as much as some people think that Klein should do this for free because he left the case, he didn't really leave the case. He got forced out. And then once everything was just dropped 100%, he's like, wait, I can come back in, you know, and I can't tell you how many people want him back in. Of course, there's some that don't. But those that do, we need your help to raise the rest of the funds for Klein and his team's travel costs. I mean, this is like up to like, I don't even know how many, I'm just going to say 5 people and Klein, along with cadaver dogs and their handlers, food, gas, travel, flights, rental cars, you know. tools that you need to do. You know, there's so much stuff that's involved in these little searches that not only do you need that stuff, and it takes time. There's like paper trails that you have to go through other companies to get to where you want to go, and they have to approve that you're going to search in that spot. And if they approve it, they might have to have other things that they have to go through loops to get you to be able to do that. And so we found ourselves doing that last year, going working through other agencies to finish their job to move forward. But there's a lot of searches planned, and I'm really excited. The spring is going to be a good takeoff. Last year seemed to be a really slow year, and I apologize for that. But there was a lot of things, like I said, there was a lot of loops and hoops that we had to jump through to get where we are today. And I can't stress enough that there was forward movement at all times since the year before last, and more so last year. So we're moving. This case isn't it's not cold. It's easily solvable. We have all the right people back on the team, and I'm hoping that this case will be solved within the next year or two.
Most definitely. Wow. And we do want to link all of that below as well. What is your advice to the public? What can we do? What can me and for example, to keep his name out there? Can we post to local social media groups? Maybe like, I don't know if you have one where your town is, but our town, Columbia, where I'm at, we have an iHeart Columbia. Can we start by talking there or things like
absolutely. This is an international case, even though it belongs in Idaho. It's an international case. He won the hearts of everybody. It's just that since 2015, you know, other cases have popped up. So the best goal for Deorr's case is to keep that on the front line, to keep it important, to keep it shareable to other avenues. I think that doing YouTube podcasts and following Klein's his lead, you know, with this case, I think we're going to see a lot, and I'm really excited. I just think that maybe, you know, sharing, help with the GoFundMe, $5. I mean, like, if you can afford a coffee, if you can afford to donate a coffee, that's really all it is, $5. And I can only imagine so many people doing that, and we would get to our amount. So yeah, raising the money and definitely just sharing his case, keeping it on top. And I think the most important thing is to keep the case factual on Vernal being the last person to seeing Deorr, and keep that confusion, you know, clear, because Grandpa is not the last person. That changes everything. It changes where people are like, oh, well, what if a bear got him? What if he was kidnapped? Well, what happens if his dad was the last person? Then what would you think? Would you still think it was possible he was kidnapped or a bear got him? Most likely not.
Well, there would definitely be proof, and like, I think you would know if it was a wild animal. I don't think nothing, no traces of blood anywhere else but the tailgate of his truck, right?
No, they're all ruled out as well. All the animals are ruled out. Their dens were searched. Hold on a second. And their dens were searched, and eagle's nests.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, they're all searched. All cleared.
Blood anywhere else but on the tailgate of that truck.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And the wheel
all
well.
right.
And the wheel well.
Wheel well. Okay.
Basically where the tailpipe and stuff is. So that
Well,
gives you another reason why Vernal had to come up with a story.
Yeah. Well, that too. And I noticed in one of Jessica's interviews, she says, I think it's so weird. She says it was an animal. It was a different kind of animal.
Yes, I did see that.
What the heck does that mean?
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, that speaks for itself almost.
I saw something earlier today that said it was Bigfoot, so.
Well, you have Grandpa also saying to Klein that all four of them are going to give him different stories.
Yeah, he did say that, which I thought that was
Mhm.
odd too. Why would you even say that?
A lot of odd things, a lot of odd words. You wouldn't see these words with, like, back to Michael Vaughn. You just wouldn't see his mom do this. It wouldn't talk like that. Wouldn't, she's hopeful. She's sad. She's fighting. She's like, you see that fight, and I don't see anything. She still says that she believes that Deorr is out there somewhere, and that she just hopes that he's happy and safe with someone. And it's like, I'm sorry, but if I thought my son was out there, that's not what of course I would hope for that, but at the same time, it would be out there and be like going to get him. You know what I mean? She's just sitting on her couch, twiddling her thumbs, hoping that someone's taking good care of him. Like, these don't make sense if your child's missing. You wouldn't be that comfortable and that relaxed, and that was it. Like, okay, well, I hope he's happy. I hope he's comfortable. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sounds delusional.
It's very weird all the way around. I mean, I still think there's going to be some things that just throw us for a loop from here.
Yeah.
I think at some point somebody's going to talk. I mean,
well, there is a leaker there is somebody that's posting some things on the YouTube, replying to me and the YouTuber that was on there, and gave out some pretty good information that makes us seem that this person knows more. And I did turn it in as a tip, and it's being looked into. But this person knows exactly what Vernal
and this person was like an anonymous person
working on in his truck. Says that he was working on his linkage. I don't even know what a linkage. I think it was a linkage. I don't even know what that is. I had to look it up. But this person is detailing what part Vernal was working on, what happened, what he thought. He said, this person says that when Vernal had Deorr, Vernal thought that Deorr went up to his grandpa, and then he backed his truck up to check his linkage, and that's when he accidentally crushed Deorr. And this is all public. Like, if you go back on the main website, the Voices page, scroll down, and you'll just keep scrolling. You'll see a bunch of screenshots, and it's in there. It's interesting. It's like this person's talking about how Vernal took. Not only was he drinking, but he popped a couple of Vicodins in. He's a truck driver, Vernal was, at that time. And in order to continue to be a truck driver, you cannot fail your UA or have any accidents. And so this could also have played a role on why Vernal decided to do what he did. It's so much. It's so much to take in.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting. So the person who was making these comments is, I'm guessing, like, anonymous person.
Yeah. And their YouTube page that they've had it since 2013. So, and in this person's background, they got Elvis and older music, and totally into, like, fixing computer parts and trinkets and stuff. It reminds me of an older guy. I don't know, but this person is, what they're saying is they're saying that it's fact and not a theory, that what they're saying is factual. So it's really important that we figure out who that person is, and eventually we'll get to the bottom of that.
That shouldn't be too hard to figure out who that person is.
No, we're working on it. And we'll figure it out. Yeah.
Where they're posted.
I hope it's a lead. I mean,
yeah,
it seems like a little lead. So if we can figure out who this person is, which we will, the questions will be asked. The right questions will be asked on, like, how do you know this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we'll go further from that point. So that's just something we're working on right now.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
You've given us a lot to chew on.
Absolutely.
Again.
We did not listen to the entire audio, But
okay. Suggest people go there though.
Yes. Definitely go to the website to finish listening to the audio. I think we didn't even get through half of it, so.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
We can still play it if y'all want.
I mean, we can if you guys have time. It's just been an hour and a half almost already, and I didn't want to take up
I'm available all night, so I don't really care if you guys have time. I'm good with anything or whatever you want to do. I really don't care. I'll work with you guys.
We can listen to a little bit more, but I do think that we should leave a little bit for people to have to go and look at it because they should.
Yeah, all right. A little taste.
Yes.
Just a little bit more. Maybe we'll have one more point to talk on.
Okay.
When it comes to a man and a woman, single mom is the worst goddamn parent I've ever seen in my life. I can tell you why. Because let's say, for example, he's got a butter knife in his fucking hand and go stick it in the light socket. What are you gonna do? You're gonna scare the living fuck out of them, shock them, and they're gonna go, "Oh, I'm not doing that again." That's why I say single moms are the shittiest fucking parents. So concerned.
By the time we finished eating, by the time I got cooked and everybody was fed.
So that puts us at about 10 o'clock?
Yeah, about that. Get everything situated. Everybody sit by.
I'm sorry. I just feel like everyone has something to say.
I know, right? Okay, so
like he's a real winner.
Oh.
Like what the heck? I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll tell you about this conversation.
Okay.
Without saying too much. Okay, so this conversation is with me. And he's telling me about this other girl's son who he had conversations with as well with this other person. And so this person's son did that, stuck a butter knife in the side socket. And his mom's like, "Oh my God, no!" And well, Vernal got that whole story. And so by the time I get on the phone with him, that's what he said. That's how he relayed the story of this. At the time, I think he was 4 years old. 4 years old, and he's trying to stick a butter knife in his, thing. And of course, his mom stopped him, right? I would too. And that's how Vernal would have taught Deorr his lesson, basically. Let him do it. Let him get shocked. They'll never do it again. That's his reasoning for lesson learnings. So, think about it. If Deorr kept putting his hand in the tailpipe, and he was not allowed to be putting his hand in the tailpipe, and he was constantly scolded not to do that, what kind of lesson did Vernal teach him? Was it a lesson, or was it an accident?
Maybe he meant to scare him a little bit, but
yeah. It went too far?
It went a little too far, yeah.
Possible.
That sounds like that would happen. Did he turn the truck on while his son's hand was in the tailpipe?
Exactly. Well, they did just get back from the stage stop, supposedly, so it should still be very warm. That's what Klein thinks. Klein thinks it should still be very, very warm. Well, let's assume it's cold. Did he move the truck to scare him, and then that happened? That would still be an accident.
He was on some kind of drug, like his perception of life in general could be a little bit skewed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you think you tap the gas, but really you freaking tap the gas.
Right. So that's, that leaves one to question on his parenting. Like, how did he punish Deorr for putting his hand in the tailpipe? And he told Klein that he's always putting his hand in his tailpipe and that he likes little games. Likes to play little games, with his son. Well, what game did you play with him?
Oh.
Right.
That just gives me chills.
I know, I'm just thinking about it. It's like paints a bigger picture.
That makes a lot more sense of something.
Not only that, Grandpa, I can't say too much about it, but Grandpa confessed to people about what happened, and that I suppose he was drunk when he did this to bartenders, and what they told me, it fit all that. Not necessarily the lesson learning, but the accident itself. And basically Deorr was crushed. So I've gotten this from a couple people now, and it's like they're confiding into somebody. Grandpa had to have seen something, or else he wouldn't have asked about a funeral. So he might have come out of his camper at the time that accident happened, you know what I mean? Like, and then seen what happened. And that's probably why he asked. I heard that the mother did see what happened after as well and screamed. So, you know, with people with these kind of things, is like, did this really happen? You know, are these people trustworthy? I'm going to say that these people are trustworthy. They've already made statements to the police before I even got the statement. So, you know, with Grandpa saying things like that and what happened, and then you have the proof on the back of the truck, and then you have Vernal acting like, you know, everything's a game, and it just makes you really wonder what happened around that truck. What was going on there?
Just thinking what Deorr's last moments were, thinking that way.
I cried when I got that last message about what might have happened to him, or what Grandpa confessed to it, because it was worse than what I'm saying, and it was horrifying. I sat there and I just cried. I was like, I gotta call somebody, and so I called my friend, and she couldn't talk. Called another friend. We talked for like 5 minutes, and then I wrote Klein, and he didn't deny it. So, you know, that's where we're focusing. We're focusing on finding Deorr's body and bringing justice to him.
Right.
Yeah. Vernal's not really a nice guy.
No, he doesn't. He sounds like a peach. I would
according to his best friend to his own mother, the best friend to the best friend's mother, Vernal has a dark side, and I think we're seeing pieces of it when we hear him talk like that. Because we don't hear him talk like that on the news. We don't hear him talk like that on, you know, he ripped people apart to pieces on social media for the first couple of years. They were both in there talking and sticking up for themselves, and they just kind of stopped.
Yeah. Which is why I do wonder if he has any sort of undiagnosed, like,
Right.
personality disorder, anything like that.
I would think so too. Like, I mean, at least by now he would.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, us single mothers are just the worst. So
I
we
know.
could let our kids stick forks in the light sockets and knives.
That's what I'm gonna go do. I'm gonna do that right now.
Oh,
not my kind
Wow.
of lesson learning, you know. I'm sorry, but yeah, that
I'm
was a
all
nice
for,
conversation.
you gotta learn by doing sometimes, but not when you're 2 and not with a electric outlet.
No, I mean there are times for little learning games that are for non-serious things, but yeah, I don't know why he would say that stuff about her. I mean, first of all, he liked that girl in the first place. It wasn't me that he liked her. And I was just like this friend of his, I guess. And he's telling me about her. Like she was a single mom. And that's what he said about her. So it's like, man, what do you say about other people, you know, that you're with?
I wonder if any of these girls that he's been involved with have ever gotten anything out of him.
I doubt it.
He is not the one to be giving parenting advice here.
No, but as far as leakage, he's given out enough to where we can run with it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Well, I say run with it until they talk.
Right?
Keep the on.
Well, I mean, like you said, somebody posted some stuff on YouTube. It seems legit.
Right.
I mean, even if it isn't, I think it's just a matter of time before somebody says something.
Right. He does have a YouTube page. It's the same name, Justiceforbabydeorr. And I have under the playlist, I did several lives with other YouTubers to talk about his case. Even though I had a page myself, I never really used it to do lives. I just used it to put my videos in there that I would make for him. And then all the lives that I did do, I made sure I put them in like a playlist because I couldn't figure out how to save them properly.
And who runs this page?
I do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, I run everything for Deorr. His family doesn't have anything out there for him. And the same thing for TikTok. I mean, I use the same name for everything.
Ooh,
This is
yep. Play that.
I have to ask you.
This is a lot of.
Oops, I'm sorry.
I have to ask you. Did you murder your son?
Absolutely not.
Was there an accident?
No.
No.
If there was, it wasn't to my knowledge.
You're saying you have nothing to do with this disappearance?
No.
I have your 61 years.
Has, don't say had.
Yeah, let's pause.
Can't do that.
She looks like, what are you talking about?
Say had.
SD card. Can I have your 61 years?
Has, don't say had.
Yeah, let's pause.
Can't do that.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
That interview right there was broken up in 2 pieces.
So okay.
So
I don't like how quick he is to.
I know.
I don't
not
like that.
Not to my knowledge. Like, dude, you're better off just shutting up, like not saying anything, you know? I mean, there's times where I look at him like I could do a better job than what you're doing this live. Like,
well, and her face is like
annoyed.
Yeah.
That's not a grieving look so those looks I don't find very grieving. I find her grieving in the very first interview, but also to a point she looks guilty. She looks guilty grieving. So in this son, Chelsea, that's her name, Chelsea Brensel, is interviewing them. During the part, right before the part that he's coaching her, the cameras had to get switched out, and they left one of the cameras rolling, and that's what they caught.
I mean, it didn't look to me like she was not necessarily grieving. It looked like she was really freaking annoyed with Vernal.
Yeah, very.
Specifically.
Yeah, like he's just a control freak.
Like, can you stop?
Well, also, it's not like he lets her even finish the question before he's like, no, absolutely not. It's barely get the question out, and he's just saying no, just deny.
And this is a news station that he's on, you know? I mean, you don't... Maybe that's why they stopped going on lives, to be honest with you. Because they suck at it. They're not good at covering anything. I mean, little things slip out. They're just... Vernal talks way too much. So if you go into playlist, and you go down and it says Justiceforbabydeorr featured on other channels.
Right.
That will be me on all those channels with other people's.
Oh, cool. So you've done quite a bit.
Yeah, I had a couple of groups that I worked with, and we became good friends, and so we would just get on there and do some updates and stuff. And then I have a Delphi on there. I don't know if it's on there, but I did one on Delphi as well.
And we've been watching. This is a lot, but yeah. No, and I definitely am curious about the Delphi one.
Oh,
I know
I got Klein and Frank in there too. So I interviewed Frank on live, and I got Klein on there in live. So if you wanted to see
I
those,
definitely want to check out all of these videos.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I haven't even had a chance to look into the Delphi stuff in a while, just because I've been into
it's a lot. It's a lot to go through. Also, if you're interested, you can go into the website and go into where it says more. It's like YouTubers and something. Yeah, there and everybody. I still have a lot to add because a lot of people do stuff. So your podcast will end up in this area. So there will be a link, and they will be able to go there and click on it. So I have a lot of people who've done podcasts or videos or a forum of some sort, I put them in there.
Wow.
There's still several missing because I could tell you there's so many more people who've covered his case, but I just got to go through there and figure out which ones are missing. So there's little updates that I had to do.
Sure. No, these are great.
That's
Well,
awesome.
it's good to I mean, I love that there's so many people who are posting videos of it.
Yeah.
That
There's
just
never enough, though.
Just keep doing it, because I mean, like you said, it's a cup of coffee, $5 at Starbucks. I mean, if you can afford a coffee, then for a little bit, I'm finding this baby.
Yeah, or if you like TikToks or whatever, just make something for him, and it'll go somewhere. You know, it'll spread. Every person is like a pyramid. You know, like you share it to 2 people, they share it to 3 people, they share it to more people, and before you know it, it just gets around.
Right.
He is so cute.
So cute. It's
style.
I can't look at it though, because every time I do, I feel like I'm gonna cry. Hold on.
Yeah.
Crying.
No crying.
No crying allowed.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. We'll bring tissues to the next podcast.
No, the next one we do, it just won't be something that I've been personally like invested in for years.
I'm happy to hear it. I mean, it makes my day to know that Deorr, who's not even my child, you know, affects other people in a positive way, and that and that people want to come back and check and see how he's doing. That's what I like, because you know, and I like it because
we just need to get some
I keep
donations,
referring
and
to him
hopefully
as if he
after
was
they search
mine.
this
What would I
spring,
do?
we'll have some answers.
Right, right. Like, if this was my daughter, what would I do? I would just want so many people to just keep sharing, and because I have adopted him as a missing child, that's what I would like, is that people just share him. He's adorable, his case is solvable. And I know, here's another thing, is that even though we share it, what can those people do to help? That's another question, right? What can they do to help after they share it? And during their sharing, what can they say to actually help? Unfortunately, none of us who share anything is really going to be able to do more, right? Except to share. Because we're not the investigators, we can't get our feet on the ground and do all that stuff. So that sucks in a way, not being able to do something about it. But definitely sharing, and keeping the real story out there, and just don't want to be forgotten about, you know?
Yeah.
That's really all I could do.
On the people who are close to the case too. Like, you never know what friend of the family knows something.
Right.
I just think the more that it's out in front of people, the more pressure there is to come forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they don't want. They don't want this case to be out there. It has died down randomly at times until I'm like, nope. And they get really mad. Like the grandmother stopped talking to me because I rehired Klein. She didn't like Klein. And I said, look, it's important that an investigator, it doesn't matter who, gets on this case and solves it. If they can solve it, that's all that matters. And as long as Klein left them alone, it wasn't going to hurt them, right? So I tried to tell her that, but she really just, if I kept talking to Klein, and she's done. And which is fine. It's not a loss. I don't, you know, if he doesn't want to talk to me, it's fine. It's not
They could have come out with another option. I mean,
right?
But this is a person who's spending his time and his money on trying to find your family member. I can't imagine why that would upset you.
Right. Yeah. Why? Oh, and then I was able to, with my advocate in my advocate helper in Idaho Falls, he knew the theater people, the Paramount Theater, and we were able to get this. I made a little video, and we had sponsors and stuff, and we were getting some awareness packages out for $5, and we made it into the theater. It was supposed to be up for a month, and made it 2 weeks before the family called their lawyer, and the lawyer called the theater and threatened them to take it down, or they would get sued for slander and misinformation. So I was like, wait, slander and misinformation. So I asked Klein, and I also contacted an attorney and found out there was no slander or no misinformation. Obviously, the parents didn't like that. What the lawyer did was not necessarily legal, because he threatened the theater, and he even made a follow-up threat to make sure that it was down. So after 2 weeks of that being up, I think the mom and the grandmother were seen in the theater, and This popped up as an ad like before the video, so it took up the whole screen. And I believe what I heard was their jaws were just dropped. Like, what the heck is this? So they were not happy. But who is it to hurt? It's not hurting anybody, right? I ain't profiting off of Deorr. No one's profiting off of Deorr.
No.
I raise money on my own. I pay Klein, sure. I guess in a way, is it considered making profit off of Deorr? No, I can't see it that way because none of it goes in my pocket.
Yeah,
I just don't need it.
But it's going back to Deorr, so you're not profiting off of Deorr, you're profiting for Deorr.
Yeah. Like I pay $38 a month for the website. I spent $600 on advertisement stuff. None of it gets back to me. I care more that whatever I do to help raise funds or whatever, that it shows that I raised it. So therefore I keep logs on everything that I do. And receipts and everything. And when I write checks, I take pictures and, I just have everything logged to where I'm not worried about how I look with raising money. I know where it goes and what it's for, and it's for this baby.
Yeah. Wow. Be worth it in the end. Everything when the truth comes out and baby Deorr is found, everything you've done and whoever pushes this case and keeps his name out there, it's going to be worth it.
It is. It is. And I have high hopes that this case will be solved someday. And I just hope that it's sooner than later. I've also come to realize over the last couple of years, the more years it comes, the more frustrating it gets because you're like, I want it solved. It's gonna, it's gonna die, and you worry about the case getting cold, and that sucks. That's a sucky feeling. But I personally no longer have that feeling. I now realize that cases like this do take time, and it can take years. It doesn't really matter how long it takes. It's just a matter of solving it. And as long as we're in a forward motion, I can't argue with how much time goes by.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I know I don't have much to give, but I will be giving for this cause. Does anything go towards you to help with the website? Like, I know you said $40 a month. A lot.
Yeah. No, it's totally fine. I don't even, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, it's not a hole in my pocket. It's worth it. It's so worth it to me. Like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, no one else was putting all this stuff into a one place, and I went to a crime con in 2000, I think it was 2019, with a couple of Deorr followers, and we were there for like 3 days, and we've never met in person, but we all met. We loved each other. It was great. It was a great time. And what we did learn, we were there to help on other missing persons cases and a murder case out of Washington. So we went to Seattle and we were working on these other persons cases. So I was able to get Deorr's case, his name out to the crime con. They really didn't think that they were going to be able to do one because they didn't think law enforcement or the parents would actually participate. But we were able to somehow, Nate Eaton, the East Idaho News guy, I don't know how he did it, but he was able to get on the stage and do a whole thing for Deorr. So,
oh wow,
yeah, that blew my mind away. But when we were down there, we went downstairs to go get a drink or some fries or something, and we sat there and we're like, we need to do something with Deorr's case. What can we do? And his website was made at one point, but I didn't do anything with it. And I said, well, I have a website that we could do something with, what if we put all the stuff in one place? And he's like, yes, that's what we need. We need it all in one place. And so we're just kind of chit-chatting about this stuff. And as soon as I got home, it was the first thing I did. It was like, nope, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit here. And I can't even tell you how long it took. It took a long time. And to keep adding to it, it's better to keep adding to it than the initial freaking creation. It was a lot. I've never made a website before. I think maybe I made one website before this one.
I mean,
so
this
one was kind of
is a good website. I've made websites before, and I can tell this took a lot of time. It's a pretty good website.
a lot of little stuff, but I still
Yeah.
don't think other people's is better, you know, but it doesn't really matter, I guess, of how it looks, as long as it's all in, you know, some sort of order and
Yeah,
it has to be
absolutely.
facts. For me to work on a case, you know, it has to be factual. Sure, we all have our theories, but theories aren't going to get him solved, and theories aren't going to help new people help solve, right? So it's important that anything that goes on this website is all factual. That way it helps educate other people on what the case is, you know. If they're not talking to me about it or talking to law enforcement or Klein or someone else who knows about the case, they have to put it all together in their own mind. And so the more organized, the better.
Wow. I love how you guys have a spot on here for questions. So like if you have a question for the family or the questions that have been asked already.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. I personally haven't had a chance to read through these, but I definitely will.
It's going to take you a while.
It took me a couple of days to really get through your website. I mean, I don't have as much time as maybe some other people might have, but
I'm a full-time mom, so I really do have the time to do it. I'm very thankful for that. I homeschool as well, so I have an 11-year-old daughter, and then I have a 22-year-old and 26-year-old sons.
Mm-hmm.
And my 26-year-old son lives with me with his girlfriend and their 1-year-old.
Oh my goodness.
It's a full house lately, but
it's exciting.
Yeah.
That definitely.
And my grandson looks like Deorr in a way. Like I'm 44 years old and I'm a grandma. Like it's crazy to think that. Like
Oh my
god. Oh my gosh. You look so pretty and young. I would not guess that.
I have
No,
2 grandchildren. They
like our
both boys
ages.
had a kid. I got the girl first and then the boy, and they're both, one just turned 2 and the other one's turning 2 next month.
Wow.
I would not have guessed that, honestly.
No.
Really?
I need to know what you're doing with your skin. I need to do that too.
Oh, absolutely nothing. I don't wear any skin makeup. Except for, you know, my eyeshadow. Yeah, like my face, I can't wear foundation at all because since I was 24, it like looks all crackly and stuff because I have dry skin, and I'm like, yeah, nope. And then I thought to myself, like, what happens if I keep wearing this stuff and then I take it off one day? Is my husband gonna recognize me? Like,
oh my goodness.
I think before the call, we had a whole conversation about that. We were arguing if foundation or concealer goes
No,
first.
we weren't arguing. You did not know.
I didn't know. I'm the last person to know. I would have no clue.
I'm telling her like facts, and she's like acting like it was some kind of debate between us. No, I know the answer.
I need my eyebrows redone because, you know, as a teenager, you pluck, and then like after a while, you have like nothing left, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and now I have gray hairs coming in or white hairs, and I'm like, are those dyeable? Like,
you should just embrace it.
I love people's eyebrows, and I don't know how they do it, and I'm so jealous.
My favorite thing to go in with a razor. Just do that.
A razor? I don't know.
Eyebrows are my least favorite thing ever because I just want them to look like the girls online, and they just don't.
Exactly. Yeah, and you know, I even bought like this little tool, but
was it
like not tool. It doesn't work. I sit there and try to draw them on, and it was like not working. I was like, this isn't working.
Did you see online a little while ago that they had like stencils with this little like spongy thing?
Spongy thing.
It's like a little sponge and a stencil, and you stick the sponge in the cap, and it's got like the eyebrow powder, and then you put it on the stencil, and it actually worked so good.
You know, I'm afraid if I even just trimmed my eyebrows that I would have spots. So, they're not, I mean, they're not long, but they're like, you know, I think if I were to draw them on, you would tell. You could tell. Or paint them on that you could tell. Like,
I thought about doing the microblading too, but that terrifies me. What if I hate it?
I know. You know what? And then when they do it and they like don't wipe it off yet, and they scare the people with the mirror, and they're like, and you're like, oh my god, did they really do that? And then they wipe it off, and it's beautiful. But what if is it beautiful? It looks like
Or like, what if it's just too much for me specifically, and then I have to wait like a month for it to calm down?
Yeah, I'm used to not having a lot, so if I had more, I don't know.
Might be scared.
Oh, that would be fun. Let's do a makeup tutorial, which I don't really put a lot in. Mine would be like 5 minutes long.
They do those makeups and crime. I mean, I
Yeah,
can
why
teach
not?
you guys a thing or two. I don't wear a lot of makeup, but I did know concealer goes first.
I thought it went on after.
We need like coffee podcasts, you know, like we're just sitting here drinking our coffee and like we just sit there and talk
But I
about
was
cases.
trying to do that thing where I don't drink on the camera.
But I have Sunny D.
Sunny D.
I don't have to.
Is it in a coffee mug too?
I didn't bring mine.
Oh, it's in a little cup.
Oh, it looked like a mug. I'm sorry.
I just didn't feel like going to make coffee. We'll do like morning coffee conversations.
Well,
but I
I'll
don't
have decaf.
I would do mornings, but to be honest with you, I'm a late owl and a late morning. So like you won't see my face until about 10:30 in the morning, the earliest.
That's how I am too, and Stephanie.
My homeschool daughter too. Same way.
Super early bird.
Oh, I can't do it.
I'm like yawning. Like I'm ready for bed by 10:30. Like I am ready to go to sleep. There are times where we're late. I blame my sister for that, but
I blame you for the days that I'm up early.
Yeah, me and my daughter, and we're up all night long, and then I actually let my daughter sleep until when she wakes up. Like her school doesn't start till 11 at home, so like, and that's perfect because I set that time. Like we just kept sleeping in, and I was like, you know what? I like sleeping in. She likes sleeping in. We don't have anywhere to be. We get our school done in 3.5 hours, and
let's
I don't really care. It's great. It's just me and her, so.
I'm considering homeschool for my daughter, so I'm glad you brought that up. That sounds like it wouldn't be too bad for her. So
No, and I would have the perfect program for you, but it's not recognized by the state, but she would still be able to graduate and go to like Running Start and get a AA and her graduation, like her diploma. She'll get an AA and a diploma in Running Start. So I do mine off of Time for Learning at time and then the number 4 learning.com. And I paid $20 a month. I think it just went up for some reason, like 40, but it's all right. It's a whole curriculum on there, every single thing. And you don't have books, you don't have any of that stuff. Like I put her on for K-12 just for a year, and I was like, I do not like this at all. It's always 5 weeks ahead of the actual school programs around here, like the actual school. I found that because I had it on the side. My daughter was 5 and she was halfway through 1st grade. She just loves this program's awesome. Yeah, that's it. And it's really the best. Like I can't tell you how good it is. And then I just enrolled my daughter into a half homeschool program and half home where she goes to it's for homeschool kids, but it's considered public school. You go there for like a day or two to do electives or some core programs. Right now they're piloting Time for Learning, and we might actually be able to do all of it on there and get credit for it still. So that's in the works.
Cool. I might hit you up with that in the near future then. That looked really cool, yeah.
Anytime.
Well, I mean, I don't like the public school systems anymore. She's dealing with some bullying. I really it's a thing I'm looking into more and more every day. So
are you a full-time mom?
I do have a full-time job, but I work from home. So
perfect.
Yeah, it's so I would be able to. It's not that far out of the realm.
And I really don't have to help mine very much. Like it's so self-explanatory. There's a it's like teacher based in there, and it's like, between like real people and cartoon figures. It tells you how to do something. It shows it how to do it for yourself, then you do it, and then eventually there's like a kind of like an activity quiz, and then there's a chapter quiz, and it goes for every subject. So they'll never walk out of a program not actually learning that. So I really like the repetitiveness of it.
That's awesome.
That's good.
Awesome. I just realized you have hearts on your sweater. Like when you were sharing the screen, I did, or not hearts, stars. I'm half dead. Stars.
I have a heart.
Stars.
And I'm not wearing a sweater though.
You do have a heart. Yeah, I love my star sweater. I got it for like the Christmas season, but I think I'm gonna wear it all the time.
I love it.
Do you have a heart on your shirt?
Me?
Or no, I don't know. I thought
Callie has a heart on her necklace.
Oh, okay. There we go. See, I knew. Shape was somewhere.
When you said heart all over, I was like, all over.
I'm
and then I was like, wait, I'm not wearing a sweater.
Just stars.
Hearts. Those are hearts now.
That y'all forgive. I know my shapes. I know what a circle is. I know that's a star. Oh god, I'm sorry.
Okay. And we're talking about homeschooling. Okay?
Yeah. Maybe you can help me with that.
Maybe you should sign up first, Stephanie.
That's cool. So funny.
You should go through the curriculum first. Well, I'm gonna at least stop the recording. We can keep chatting, but I'm gonna make sure that everybody goes to Callie's website, and we'll link all of the different websites, YouTube groups, whatever Justice for Deorr is out there. We'll go ahead and link that. And yeah, thank you so much.
I appreciate this so much, you guys. It's been so fun, and I can't wait to work with you guys again.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I can tell you that I'll get like so involved in other cases unless I'm already like know about it, but just because of the time that I put into Deorr's case, I don't know if I have that same kind of motivation for a lot of other cases unless I already know about them and kind of into them. Like Summer's case, I'm kind of into it. The Delphi case, I'm into it. Yeah, and Monkey Vaughn, I'm into his, and
right.
Yeah.